Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Chell.
And you just heard a call out from Capcom here in Mission Control Houston. Amy Deal, sitting right next to the flight director, Greg Whitney, leading the docking and rendezvous portion. We are currently docked to the station, and we are waiting for the crew to do some steps to be ready to open the hatch. We just heard a call to NASA's Kjell Lindgren, and he was given the go to go ahead and begin those hatch operations. First, he will open the large hatch at node 2 forward, giving him access inside the pressurized mating adapter. Then he'll have to pressurize the vestibule, which is a small space between the hatches on Dragon and the space station. This was exposed to vacuum prior to docking, and we need to fill it with air and make sure its pressure is nearly equal to that of the atmosphere on Dragon and the space station. Linger will use a small valve on the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into the vestibule. Flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston will monitor the pressure and temperature readings inside and verify that everything is leak-free before we get ready to open up the hatches. Again, we're expecting hatch open to happen at 5:42 p.m. Central Time. Following hatch open, the crew will configure Dragon for on-orbit ops and get a safety briefing. With critical research and science aboard Dragon today, they will begin to unload the hardware. A few hours from then, we will have a welcome ceremony with all crew members for Crew-4 and Crew-5, as well as the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the space station.
Station on the big loop. The node 2 forward hatch is open.
Copy, node 2 forward hatch open.
Houston on 2 for hatch opening.
Go ahead, Sam.
The AFS equalization value was opened at GMT 2126.
Houston copies.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, vestibule pressurization in progress, reference 4.400 for telemetry if you'd like.
Copies, I'm in 4.400.
Houston Station on 2 on the big loop. APAS valve is closed at 2127, and the Node 2 camera is on if you'd like to route it.
Houston copies all.
And you just heard some calls from the crew to the crew on board station and inside of Dragon, basically all confirming that we've had start of hatch operations and pressurization of that vestibule.
Dragon, SpaceX on Dragon to ground for a few vehicle configuration items.
For Dragon.
Hey, Nicole, first item, ISS power connection has been established. Everything's looking nominal there. Second item has to do with the waste system. Report ready to copy.
Copy, we have good power and ready to copy for the waste system.
All right, we are looking for your help characterizing some power draw we saw on the waste fan while it was being used prior to suit dawn on approach. So we're going to add an addendum to procedure 4.400, step 5.1. The action as it stands now is to work through your cabin configuration for that whole procedure and just call down when you reach section 5. We've got an addendum in 5.1.
Ready to copy in 5.1.
Understand you're ready to copy. I think this is going to go smoother if we just wait till you're actually there. And so I'd recommend y'all continue with suit doffing and then give me a call when you're at section 5.
Gotcha, no problem. We'll call you when we get into Section 5.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nicole.
And you just heard calls from the core at SpaceX and Mission Control, Jake Vendel. He's calling to commander of Dragon, Nicole Mann. Dragon will be also doing some operations on their side, preparing Dragon for a long duration stay. They are looking at a 6-month science mission while aboard the International Space Station. And you're currently seeing live views of Dragon dock to the International Space Station. Dragon in the International Space Station and almost a sun in the orbital daytime, 268 statute miles above the Indian Ocean. You're currently looking inside the International Space Station. We had views of Commander Samantha Cristoforetti and NASA astronaut Kjell Lindgren just a few seconds ago as they were floating by, still making those final preparations for hatch open for the Crew-5's arrival inside the International Space Station. Again, we're looking for that hatch open to happen around 5:42 p.m. Central Time. If you're currently just tuning in, you're watching live coverage of NASA's SpaceX Crew-5 mission to the International Space Station, where they had a successful dock to the complex at 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. NASA astronauts Nicole Mann and Josh Cassada, JAXA astronaut Koichi Wakata, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Anna Kikina arrived to the International Space Station just about 39 minutes ago. Following Dragon's link up to the Harmony module, the crew aboard Dragon Endurance and the space station will be conducting some standard leak checks, and they have begun pressurization of the vestibule between the spacecraft in preparation for the hatch opening, currently scheduled for 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 6:42 p.m. Eastern Time. Upon hatch opening, Mann, Cassada, Okada, and Kikina will join the Expedition 68 crew of NASA astronauts Bob Hines, Kjell Lindgren, Frank Rubio, and Jessica Watkins, Samantha Cristoforetti of ESA, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Patelin. For a short period of time, the number of the crew on the space station will increase to 11 people until Crew-4 departs. You currently see a docked Dragon to the forward Node 2 hatch, and on your left and then to the right of your screen, you're seeing inside the International Space Station, where the crew is eagerly preparing for the ingress of the crew.
And Dragon Houston on the big loop. Stand by for hardline audio config.
Now looking at views as NASA astronaut Kjell Lindgren is entering the area of the hatch as he continues preparations for the Crew-5 crew to ingress from Crew Dragon Endurance.
Dragon, Houston on the big loop for hardline audio voice check.
Houston, Dragon, we have you loud and clear.
I hear you loud and clear as well. Please call SpaceX for hardline voice check.
SpaceX, Dragon, for a hardline comm check.
And Nicole, we've got you loud and clear as well.
We have you the same.
And you just heard the crew commander, Nicole Mann, on the big loop doing comm checks between her and Dragon to Mission Control Houston, as well as MCCX Mission Control for SpaceX out in Hawthorne, California.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop for suits.
Dragon, we're with you on suits.
just letting you know Section 4 is complete, and in Section 5, all suits are drying. We have started a timer. And do we still have Dragon to ground with you, or is this our only compass?
And Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, we do have Dragon to ground, and I think we should head over there. We're just going to have a lot of probably bothersome calls for the whole ISS crew.
I tried you a couple times on a Dragon to ground before this with a no response, but I will switch over and try you again on Dragon to ground.
Copy.
Currently seeing a live view of Dragon Endurance docked to the forward port of the Harmony module.
On the big loop for comm, just providing some awareness. I think we've got spotty TDRS coverage and have for some time. We can stick on the big loop for the continued coordination here. You are go for 4.400 for cabin configuration.
Copy, we'll go for 4.400, and you copy that the suits are drying?
Copied that the suits are drying.
Station Houston on the big loop for Chell.
And I'm with you on the big loop.
Okay, the lead check has passed. You are go for ingress part 2 in step 3.1.
3.1 ingress. And put that work now. Thanks.
Houston copies.
And you just heard Capcom Amy Dill to Chell Lindgren. That's astronaut prime for hatch operations inside the International Space Station. He was given a go to safing and applying the ISS power to Dragon.
station, Houston on the big loop. Purcell. Hey, Waddy. For the hatch opening, you can continue to execute in step 3.3.
We go in 3.3. Text Dragon on the big loop for toilet.
Hey, Nicole, I'm with you on the big loop.
Hey, Jake, I know you have some deltas when we secure the waste system, but in the meantime, is the waste system operational?
What a question. Standby 1. Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop. Report ready to copy. I think we should just have you step into the troubleshooting we have planned for later.
Hey, Jake, I happen to be up here, so I'm ready to execute your troubleshooting if you want.
Okay, Josh, we are going to have you turn on the waste fan and then head down to location 22, open the access panel, and check for flow through the mesh, then report back. How copy?
Okay, copy. We're going to turn on the waste fan and then go down to 22 and see if we've got flow through the mesh.
Good copy.
And that was the core in MCCX, SpaceX's mission control in Hawthorne, California, confirming with the crew, Josh Cassada, as they continue to proceed through steps, making Dragon ready for its long-duration stay, eventually being configured for a quiescent mode, and that will remain there for 6 months. There will be periodic checks throughout Dragon's stay to check on the spacecraft's health before departing 6 months down the road.
Jake, we've got bad news or good news, depending on how you look at it. We do feel flow down in location 22, and we're guessing you want us to go grab the cat from the earlier demo.
Dragon, that's a good read. You're ahead of us. We do want you to go install the cap, and we're going to plan to leave it installed through the dock duration. How copy?
Copy that. We'll install it with the cotter pins and leave it through the dock duration. Thanks.
Currently seeing dual boxes, the Dragon Endurance attached to the space station on your left, and NASA astronaut Chell lingering inside the International Space Station as he continues preparations for Crew-5's ingress into the space station. Again, we're looking for ingress to be about 35 minutes from now. Looking at 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 6:42 p.m. Eastern.
Sensation on 2 on the big loop. The gas detector is reading 0 after 5 minutes.
Houston copies.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop for waste system.
Go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Josh, we've got a few thoughts here, working through it with the back room. We're wondering if you've installed the cap already, and if you have not, we're wondering if you could run a quick test to sort of characterize the flow through the funnel. Standby 1. Okay, following up, we are going to have you install the cap, and then you are clear to use the waste system as normal.
Okay, sounds good. The cap is installed, and we did verify that we've got good flow at the funnel now. Thanks.
Okay, we copy good flow at the funnel, and again, you are good to use the system as normal.
We copy that, Jake. Thanks.
station, Houston on the bid loop.
For station on the big loop.
All right, you have a go to perform step 3.6, and we'll take that gas detector reading from inside the vestibule.
Copy, go on 3.6, and we'll give you a gas detector reading from inside the vestibule.
Houston copies.
And that was Capcom, Amy Dill, to the crew on the big loop, telling them that they could take some readings for the vestibule. Still in those operations, preparing for the hatch opening, still scheduled now for 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 6:42 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're just joining us, we had a successful docking of the Crew-5 crew to the International Space Station at 4:01 p.m. Central, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time, while the Dragon and the International Space Station were flying 259 statute miles off the west coast of Africa. We're currently in a brief handover period between satellites and should have those views of the International Space Station and Dragon back for you shortly. And they're back. You currently see the APAS hatch open. That was Jessica Watkins floating through. And we now see NASA astronaut Kjell Lindgren going over to continue the hatch operations to ready for the ingress of Crew-5. Just moments ago, they were given a go by Mission Control Houston to do readings of the vestibule, making sure that it was right pressure and the right mix inside the vestibule before opening the hatch of Dragon.
Houston station on the big loop. We have gas detector readings of 0 in the vestibule.
We copy. Readings of 0 in the vestibule.
And you just heard confirmation that there's a 0 reading inside the vestibule, and that's 0 gas being read from the vestibule.
Houston station on the big loop. 4.1, no condensation in the IDA vestibule.
Houston copies.
And we currently see it is all hands on deck as Crew-4. Samantha Cristoforetti, current station commander, and Bob Hines in your forefront view in the center of the screen. And off to the right, we see NASA astronaut Jessica Watkins. Oh, sorry, that is Frank Rubio. And they continue preparations for the ingress of Crew-5 from Dragon Endurance.
Houston, SpaceX, station on the big loop. Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Houston copies.
SpaceX copies.
You just heard a call from the crew to Mission Control Houston as well as Mission Control at SpaceX that the crew is ready for hatch equalization. And you're currently seeing views from a camera inside the vestibule. The astronauts aboard the ISS have put a camera facing them to be able to watch as the crew ingresses from Endurance Dragon. You're currently seeing all of Crew-4 plus Frank Rubio out still preparing for that hatch open. We're looking.
Dragon to ground. Com check.
Hey, Koichi, I've got you 5x5 on Dragon to ground.
Jake, here we can give you the water and food inventory tracker reporting.
We are ready to copy.
Okay, for water inventory, from bag 203, we consumed all 5 bottles. And from bag 204, we consumed all 5 bottles. And from bag 207, 2 bottles consumed. And from bag 208, all 5 bottles were consumed. And that's the end of the water inventory.
Copy on water, 203, 5 bottles, 204, 5 bottles, 207, 2 bottles, and 208, 5 bottles. And I've got one more question for you. We do bookmark one of those for the waste system flush. I wonder if you have already taken that into account.
Yes, we have taken that bottle into account for the water flush.
Perfect. And we're with you for food.
Okay, for food, from bag 301, breakfast and lunch consumed. From bag 302, snack and dinner were consumed. Those are fully consumed. And from bag 309, 3/4 of breakfast and 3/4 of lunch were consumed. And from bag 310, snack is fully consumed and half dinner is consumed. That's the end of the food inventory.
We copy 301, 2 meals consumed, 302, both items consumed, 309 had 3/4 of a breakfast and a lunch, 310 had a snack consumed and half a dinner. And I've got one hanging question for you. Is the plan to dispose of all the half-eaten and 3/4 eaten items?
About 5 minutes for equalization.
Understood. Go from the Dragon crew and then
Yeah, Jake, that's affirmative. We will consume those partially consumed ones. We will trash those partially consumed food on the ISS.
Okay, we copy all. Thanks, Koichi.
Thank you, Jake.
You just heard on Dragon to ground loop the Crew-5 crew inside of Dragon Endurance give a reading on the consumables that they used while in flight in approach and docking to the International Space Station. We are just awaiting them, the Crew-5 crew, to give an okay for
Dragon, SpaceX on Dragon to ground or working towards hatch opening.
Go ahead, Jake, for hatch opening.
Hey, Koichi, understand you're not quite through 4.400. we've got some itchy folks here on the ground looking to equalize across the hatch. We're looking to perform the first few steps of Section 6, equalize across the Dragon hatch, while you continue with Section 5 for the waste system flush. How copy?
Okay, we copy.
And you just heard the core Jake Vindel and SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California, talk to Koichi Wakata aboard Dragon Endurance. He relayed that the ISS crew on board station is ready for equalization, and that they could continue procedures on their side as the ISS crew begins the equalization of Dragon. We are looking for about a 5-minute timer on that. After that period, teams will verify that the hatch is good to open between the space station and Endurance.
Jake, on Dragon to Ground, I am with you here in Section 6, and Josh is working Section 5.
Copy, Nicole. And just to confirm, we want to make sure the Dragon crew is ready to equalize across the hatch.
Affirm, Dragon crew ready to equalize across the hatch.
Okay, copy. We will send that command shortly.
And again, you just heard Jake Vindel report to the crew that they are ready for hatch equalization. So that's ISS crew and the crew inside Dragon Endurance are ready to equalize the hatch. Again, the clock will start about a 5-minute timer. After that period, teams will verify that the hatch is good to open between the space station and Endurance.
Station and Dragon, Houston on the Big Loop. Stand by for equalization, which is expected to take 5 minutes.
Dragon copies.
Station copies, 5 minutes.
And you just heard it, 5 minutes for equalization once that process has begun. And that was Jessica Watkins on board the International Space Station and Nicole Mann inside Endurance, confirming that they heard the go for equalization.
On 3 for ops products.
With you, Sam.
Yeah, I know we've got some critical events going on, but we also have some time-critical activities after hatch opening. I just wanted to mention right now we're not able to refresh Optimus or access the ops products anywhere on iPad or SSC.
Okay, we copy, Sam. We'll discuss down here.
And Houston, as a follow-up, it seems like one of the laptops now finally was able to open Optimus. So it might have been just a very slow situation for a moment. We'll keep looking at it.
Okay, we copy. Thanks for the report.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground for configuration.
Nicole, we're with you on Dragon to ground.
Okay, we're complete with Section 5. We're standing by here in Section 6. We've got the suits drying. I've got 7 more minutes on the timer. Big picture, are you thinking that we're going to open the forward hatch and then go in for a quick hello and then come back to finish up with the suits and then step into the ISS procedure?
Dragon, that's a good read. We are going to step into the hatch open process right now and then have you come on back for some final cabin configuration steps.
Okay, copy. So we're going to, on your go, we will get that hatch open, and then I'll check with you before we enter ISS and say hello, and then we'll come back and finish up with our suits, and then we'll also execute 2.102.
Copy all, and that's a good read. Stand by 1.
And we have confirmation inside Mission Control that Crew Dragon is equalized to the International Space Station, and the crew inside Dragon and the ISS are ready for hatch open.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, you are go for Dragon hatch opening for the decal, followed by the remaining actions in 4.400, Section 6.
Dragon copies, we're opening the forward hatch and finishing up Section 6.
And you just heard confirmation to the crew that they are go for hatch opening. And you can see smiling and waving. The forward hatch on the Crew Dragon Endurance has been opened. The crew inside International Space Station are all smiles and waves as they see the beginning of ingress from the Crew-5 crew from Dragon Endurance. And that was a confirmed hatch open at 5:49 p.m. Central Time, 6:49 p.m. Eastern Time. That hatch we've been waiting for is now open since docking at 4:01 p.m. Central Time, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Hatch opening taking place at 5:49 p.m. Central, 6:49 p.m. Eastern Time. All smiles on the International Space Station as they eagerly await the ingress of Crew-5. The hatch is open, but Crew-5 astronauts will need to work through a few more steps and gather some imagery as well. At the time of hatch open, Dragon and the International Space Station were flying 263 statute miles above the South Atlantic Ocean. It may be just a couple more minutes before Crew-5 astronauts ingress the space station to be welcomed onto their new home for the next 6 months as a part of Expedition 68 as they walk through a few more procedures. The crew inside of Dragon Endurance are installing some IMV ducting, mixing the air of the space station environment with the air inside the Crew Dragon Endurance. They'll seal some of the LiO or lithium hydroxide cartridges that scrubbed carbon dioxide inside of Dragon capsule on the ride to the International Space Station, and they'll check some vent valves as well, so maybe just a little bit more time until we welcome them on board the International Space Station. And here we come through. First one through the hatch is going to be Nicole Mann, commander of Dragon, and now the first Native American woman to live and stay aboard the International Space Station. All hugs and smiles going around. Next one through the hatch is Josh Cassada, the pilot of Dragon. He's getting his welcome and hellos from the crew aboard International Space Station. And we see right now, right past Nicole Mann's hair, is Koichi Wakata of JAXA coming through the hatch. And last but not least, Anna Kikina of Roscosmos just entered the International Space Station, and Crew-5 is officially ingressed from Dragon Endurance into their home for the next 6 months, the International Space Station. And with the addition of Crew-5 on board, there is currently 11 astronauts inside the International Space Station. We're currently in a brief handover between satellites and should have the acquisition of signal back shortly. Bring you more views inside the International Space Station. Just moments ago, we saw Crew-5 ingress the station. And now we have the 11-person crew of Expedition 67 now all together in Node 2 of the International Space Station. Typically, we'd have a welcoming ceremony shortly after ingress of the crew. However, today, the crew will be unloading critical science and investigations, as well as finishing up some of those procedures to make Dragon ready for their 6-month stay docked to the International Space Station. We are expecting a welcoming ceremony around 7:15 p.m. Central Time. We'll have a brief intermission between the ingress of the crew as they unload that critical science and hardware from Dragon Endurance into the International Space Station. Again, we're expecting a welcome event for the crew around 7:15 p.m. Central Time. 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And that was an incredible day and a 29-hour rendezvous for the Crew-5 crew after launching successfully yesterday from the Launch Complex at Kennedy Space Center, Launch Complex 39A, at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 Eastern. The crew docked at 4:01 p.m. Central Time, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. And just moments ago, at 5:49 p.m. Central Time, the hatch from Dragon Endurance was opened, and we just saw Crew-5 welcomed aboard the International Space Station. The population of the space station now at 11 human beings as a part of Expedition 68. It's been an incredible 24 hours for Crew-5, and from all of us here in Houston, welcome aboard Crew-5. That's our coverage for now, but do join us for the Crew-5 welcoming event and remarks at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. This is Mission Control Houston.